Hello, everybody. This is Dom from Upstate Supernatural. I have the pleasure of having our guest tonight with us, Brian Holloway. He does such a series as the Ghost Trails, and he also has his own YouTube channel. Has some very informative information on his YouTube channel. If you haven't checked that out, definitely go ahead and do that. I have that in the description below the video. We also have Jenna with a J that's with us as well. She's going to take questions from the chat, and we'll start out doing the interview. I'm just going to ask you questions basically that I've asked every other investigator,
Okay.
and then after that we're going to open it up to the viewers so they can ask any questions that they may have for you.
Excellent.
All right, if you could let everybody know your name and the group that you work with.
Okay, yes, my name is Brian Holloway, and I'm part of a group, or the main group here in Gibraltar, called Soul Seekers. And as Dom actually said, I'm also part of a team that appear on a TV show here called The Ghost Trail here in Gibraltar, that's aired in Gibraltar and Spain and Europe.
Okay, how long have you been investigating in the paranormal?
Oh, that's a good question. I've actually, all my life, it's as simple as that. The very first memory I have is paranormal in nature. So literally, around about 4, I think was the thing, and that's what basically started my whole journey.
Okay. Whatever caused you to become interested in ghost hunting and the paranormal?
Well, like I said, when I was really, really young, I was thrust into the paranormal with certain things that happened, and it just went from there. And then when I got old enough to know what ghost hunting was and paranormal investigation was, I basically just went from there. So I started really young, and it was just those early experiences and things that happened that just led us to understand that there was something else out there. There was something there. And unlike other kids whose parents sort of tell them, you know, there's no such things as ghosts, there's no such things as the paranormal, I didn't have that. So I just grew up believing and knew there was something there. And I've just basically took it from there.
Very interesting.
It's definitely...
I asked the same question to everybody. For the show really is based off from investigators to give the raw, real truth of what ghost hunting is. There's a lot of TV shows, a lot of movies out there that depict it in a certain light. And
there is. Yes.
The interview series, I'd like it to be the raw, real story for everybody out there. Is there an interesting story of something that happened to you during a ghost hunt that you would like to share? Something particular?
Oh my God, there's so many to choose from. Because obviously I've done personal ghost hunts, and I've also done ghost hunts with the TV show. So, and obviously both are slightly different. But I've done things in a personal level with Soul Seekers, which is just off camera. We've done things where we investigated a house in the UK, and that was just a small group of us went into a house, and just very strange things happened. We had light anomalies, balls of light as big as tennis balls actually floating around, and not just on camera, where some people say it's like it's dust or it's water vapor. These were physical balls of light. It was kind of like watching something out of a movie, and it was just strange things like that. We had figures that we saw. We had objects move, and it was just crazy, crazy stuff. But obviously that was outside the TV show.
Right. Very cool.
It was a weird sort of thing. It was one of those things where I've done investigations in the classic old creepy castles. I've done here in Gibraltar. We've got 32 miles of caves running through the Gibraltar Rock, and it's scary, scary stuff down there. But the weirdest stuff we have was just in a normal house, someone's home, and that was the one I was just talking about. It was just a creepy, creepy sort of place to be, and yet it was just someone's normal day-to-day home. It was really strange.
About how many investigations would you say you've partaken on?
Ooh, again, that's a difficult one to answer. I've lost count. Obviously, I just investigate, or I did when I was in the UK, whenever we could, anytime we could, any opportunity, because I was always armed. I always had this thing. I always had equipment on us. I would go anywhere and I would have equipment in my pockets. So anywhere I went, I could turn into an investigation, literally within minutes. But I would say hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I bring a voice recorder with me, your cell phone, some of the applications out there. You can utilize that too. So I do
exactly, because you never know. You just never know. The amount of times we've gone to people's houses not to do an investigation, but just to visit, and they said, "Oh, by the way," and then they'll come out with a story. So then, just instantly, you're in an investigation because you go into that mode. You go into investigation mode, and out comes the equipment, and away you go. So, like I said, it's hard to even put a number to it.
Okay. During an investigation, is there certain equipment that you prefer to use? Is there like K2 meter, voice recorder, digital camera, spirit box? You know, is there certain equipment that you prefer to use during an investigation?
Well, there's the standard equipment. What I would class as basically what any investigator should have is your digital recorder. I always have a K2 meter of some sort and a camera. That's the basic equipment. If I've got that, I can do any investigation. But I also like, obviously, as people who've maybe seen my YouTube channel, I do like Echo Box and all the different versions of Echo Box. I like to have those on hand. I don't use them every time. I'm a firm believer in, I do like the ITC and Echo Box and things like that, but I like old school. Either a digital recorder or even going back to an old tape recorder. And to me, that there is no... getting evidence with Echo Box is cool, but when you actually capture a voice on a digital recorder when there was no other sound there was nothing that could be mistaken, and you get a clear voice, there's just nothing better than that.
Right.
So I would say that's got to be me number one piece of equipment, digital voice recording.
I asked this question because I've talked to numerous investigators, numerous individuals in the paranormal. Some individuals like to go out for the hunt. They like to go out there to just investigate. Some of us also like to, go out to investigate, and then the Hail Mary is the end of it, where you're going through the footage. So for you, what do you feel is probably the greatest part? Do you feel the hunt or everything all in between, or the last part of it? Going through your footage. Yeah, personally, I would say going through the footage gives the biggest thrill, because the hunt is good. It obviously that's what we go for. We go to hunt to gather that evidence, and that's what it's all about. To me, it's not the thrill of the chase, the thrill of the hunt. It's educating people that there is something out there and getting that evidence. And to me, that's why evidence review is just as important as every other step, if not more important. Because the sort of excitement you get when you're going through that evidence and you're spending hours and hours and hours just trawling through audio, but when you get that one piece of evidence, when you get that one voice that comes through, it's just a feeling that you can't even describe. Obviously, other investigators will know what I'm talking about, but for anyone else out there, that thrill, that feeling that gives, you just can't put words to it. And then, the next question I have is, if there's any new people that might be interested in joining the field, is there any tips, or any insight that you can give for them?
Yeah, well, the main thing for me, anyone can obviously do what we do. You can buy all this equipment that we use, all this fancy equipment online, and you can go into a haunted location and you can start investigating. But the main tip I've got for anyone who wants to start is about doing things properly. It's about protection. You got to remember that you're going into a location that these things are real. These spirits are real, and you need to have protection. You need to make sure that everyone's going in and they have personal protection, because you don't know what you're going to come in contact with. You don't know what's going to leave the location with you. So we have a set ritual we do. We always protect before we go in. We do an investigation, whether that's privately or on the TV show, and then we always close down at the end. We always make sure that there's nothing going to follow us out. There's nothing going to attach to any members of the team. And I would say that is a really, really important part of any investigation. And it's a one that a lot of people forget about.
No, that's great advice. Definitely is.
Yeah.
What is your viewpoint on things like spirit boxes? Whether it's an application or whether it's a wooden box, a custom box. How do you feel about spirit boxes in general?
In general, I do believe they can work if they're used correctly. I do believe spirit can manipulate sound. They can come through on certain pieces of equipment, because at the end of the day, spirit is just energy, and everything that we use is based on energy. So I do believe they can work, yes. And again, I do use Echo Box and other things like that myself, and I know they do work. The evidence that they give, it cannot just be down to random chance. A lot of people say that when you hear a spirit box, a classic spirit box talking, and it's just garbled radio, that it's just fluke. But when you're getting specific evidence, specific information through, that just takes out any chance of it being random. So to me, I know these things work 100%.
Okay. What about Ouija boards? I go from spirit boxes to Ouija boards.
Ouija boards, yeah, it's another one of those things. I do believe in Ouija boards. I do believe Ouija boards work, and I do believe spirit can get attached to things like Ouija boards. But what people have to remember is it's not the Ouija board that actually does what it does. The Ouija board is just a board. It is just a board with letters on it. It's made of wood or cardboard or whatever. What opens the communication is the intent of the people who are using the Ouija board. The Ouija board is just a focal point. So a lot of people do put a lot of emphasis on, Ouija boards are evil and they open doorways and bad spirits can come through. That can happen with anything you use to communicate, even a standard digital recorder. As soon as you put the intent out to want to communicate and you asking out for communication, the digital recorder is doing exactly the same as what the Ouija board does, as far as I'm concerned. That's my personal opinion. So I don't have a problem with Ouija boards as long as they're used correctly, like anything else that we do. It's always about protection.
I mean, this is kind of almost the same question as earlier. I mean, you said earlier with a voice recorder, is the main thing that you like to use.
Yeah.
It's more or less kind of an opinionated question. Is there certain devices or applications that are out in the field that you feel work better than others? Just to hopefully steer people hopefully in a different path of what.
It is a good question. To be honest, no. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter. I mean, I use a certain digital recorder, but that's just the one I use. I didn't buy it for any specific reason, but I've used a digital recorder and I've caught fantastic evidence. I've used a simple, cheap little camera and caught amazing EVP. So I don't think it's down to any specific thing. One thing is better than the other. I think spirit, if they want to communicate, they'll communicate no matter what you're using. And obviously they're able to imprint the voice onto a digital voice recorder, and it didn't matter whether that's a cheap digital recorder or a very expensive one. To me, there is no difference. Okay. And now, again, even using your mobile phone, the record functionality, to me, if they're going to communicate, they would even use something like that. So,
yeah, I've actually gotten some EVPs through, a digital camera I had from like 7 years ago.
Exactly.
The quality's not the greatest, but the audio came out crystal clear. You could hear EVPs throughout it.
Exactly. If they want to communicate, they'll use anything, and basically you can do the same. Just whatever you've got at hand that can record, just use it. It's as simple as that.
What would you say? Because everybody loves to know this type of stuff. What would you say is the worst thing you ever came across out in the field?
Oh, there's a few. The main one that sticks to mind is something that happened recently. I mean, I've seen some weird things, and I've had some weird things when I was younger. I mean, I've had all the classics that people talk about. I've been torn out of bed by my hair. I've been bitten. I've been punched, slapped, scratched. I've had all of that. But the creepiest thing, the weirdest thing that happened is it was actually using one of Danny's apps. We were recording an episode. We just finished filming season 3 of the Ghost Trail, and we just decided to do the GBC studios themselves, which is supposed to be haunted. And we decided to use Danny's Black Box for the first time, and it's got obviously a lot of people should hopefully know what that is. But it's basically similar to Echo Box, except it doesn't have any phonetics in it. It's got no human sounds. It just basically is a screeching noise. And I decided to go and test it before we actually started filming it, just to make sure the tablet worked okay and the software worked okay. So my colleague and I, Mr. Lee Digman, went off with one of the camera people who decided they just wanted to film a bit of it just for like stock footage. We turned this thing on and it was just screeching away, just this noise that it does make. And then this clear voice just came through. And it was just the creepiest, most demonic sounding thing I've ever heard. And it just stopped us all in our tracks. We literally had to stop what we were doing. And other members of the team who were just walking up at the time, they just couldn't believe what we heard. And it was just a simple name, but it was the way it said it. And the atmosphere changed in the location we were at, and we just didn't know what to do. It just literally, I mean, we've been doing this for years, and we were just stunned. And it was really, really weird. It was a really weird thing. And the strange thing was, I contacted Danny to make sure that wasn't sort of a fluke, an anomaly, or that wasn't actually in any sound bank that was in the software. And he confirmed that no, there are no voices at all built into that. No phonetics, no nothing. And this voice then appeared on every single episode we filmed after that. The same voice, the same name, just came through prolifically after that. And it was almost like we were being stalked. And that's got to be kind of just one of the more weirder things that I've come across.
Right.
And it's still an ongoing thing as well. That's still something that we're having issues with. Whatever we contacted on that night is still a problem. I think it's attached to one of one of us, and it's just creepy. It's as simple as that.
And you're going from different location to different location, and it's still happening to you.
It's still happening. It happened, and again, we tried using different apps to rule it out. And no matter which version of Echo Box we used after that, even if we didn't use the Dark Box, we've used Dark Box, Black Box, EVR, Classic Echo Box, and Echo Box version 3, and the same name comes out every time, without fail. So it's just one of those things that's an ongoing thing that we're looking at, and we sort of like trying to figure out. It's really strange. For us, very interesting, but still very strange, and it has creeped a couple of the crew out.
Oh, I'm sure.
It definitely has, yes.
What is your theory of why or how ghosts exist? I ask skeptics. I do interview with a skeptic, and I ask them, what do they think happens, for the afterlife? So on the other spectrum, since we are ghost hunters, why do you feel what do you feel the theory is of why or how a ghost actually exists?
And again, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? Like, what's on the other side? And that's why we do this. But then again, I suppose if we knew the answer to that, we wouldn't need to investigate the paranormal, because we'd have all the answers. But as far as I'm concerned, when a person dies, when you're alive, there's a certain, obviously there's something that makes us tick. There's an energy that flows through us, whether you call that the soul or whatever way you want to call it. And I believe basically that when you die, that energy just continues. It just moves through a different state. Then that is it. What happens after that? Why that energy sometimes why it stays and why others go, or where they do actually go, we don't know. That's the thing. I wish I did have the answer, but I don't. And that's obviously why we do what we do. We know we're communicating with something. And that's a question I've been asked many times. What is it that we're communicating with as well? And again, I don't know. No one knows. Anybody who says they know for definite, they're not telling the truth. So that's the best I can answer that one. I have no idea.
Okay.
It's just an ongoing sort of quest, an ongoing puzzle. But as to what we actually communicating with, I'm not saying we definitely communicating with spirit. We communicating with something, and it seems to be intelligent. And a lot of these things give out information that only loved ones would know. But again, we still don't know 100% sure what it is we are communicating with.
Right. No, I think that's a great answer.
Thank you.
And then the last question that I have before we go to the viewers is,
Okay.
were you ever a skeptic? Were you ever a non-believer? I know a lot of investigators out there will say, "Well, I'm a skeptical investigator," and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, you were never a person that didn't believe that ghosts or spirits or so forth existed?
No, because of what happened, because I had such a unique sort of childhood with the paranormal, and like I said, my very first memory was paranormal in nature. So basically, from the day I can actually remembering anything, I've been mixed up in the paranormal. So I was never a skeptic. I always knew there was something there. But skeptics are fine. I love skeptics because obviously skeptics keep things real as well. Because as all paranormal investigators know, sometimes we can get a bit excited or something will happen, and and skeptics just keep our feet grounded and stop us from running away with ourselves sometimes, which we've all done it.
Oh yeah. No, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, we've all done it, and so like I said, but no, personally, I've always believed, always.
All right. Any viewers that have any questions, Jenna has been taking those questions through the chat, and she'll go ahead and probably start to read those out.
Excellent.
And if you have any more questions, feel free to write it in the chat. I'm sure Brian would be happy to answer just about anything you guys have to ask.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Do with the paranormal. So.
Dom, I haven't seen any filtering yet, but I do have a question for Brian. Have you, you've obviously been in contact with some negative energies or negative entities, I guess you would say. What do you think is the worst thing that's happened to you? Have you ever come close to possession or anything in your eyes, like close to possession or?
That's a good question. Yes. I have. Again, it wasn't when I was sort of grown up, which you would have thought that's when I would have been at my most vulnerable. But it was during season 2 of the Ghost Trail. We were doing a location. It was Intis Hall, I believe, and something just got really, really, really close, too close. And I just remember at the time, our medium Sam just looked at me. I started getting a splitting headache. I just didn't feel right. I knew there was something wrong, and I was just in a horrific pain. It just felt like someone was sticking basically a sword through me back underneath my shoulder blade, and it was just a weird feeling. I knew that there was something trying to get too close. So yeah. And you do know it. Again, it's hard to describe to people who haven't actually experienced it what that actually feels like.
Now, the thing that you have, what you think is attached to you or attached to someone in the crew, do you think that is negative? That's definitely negative, or? Oh yes,
within no shadow of a doubt. When that first came through, well, I can tell you what it actually said. I mean, it hasn't aired yet, but I basically put on YouTube and things what it was. It was something that called itself David, and when that name was mentioned when we were doing the test in the GBC studios, our medium Sam and my other colleague Kieran Posso, who's very sensitive, they were actually physically ill. It made them physically ill, and Kieran had actually said that for days afterwards he wasn't right. It basically, whatever this thing was, its name came through the device, and it was just like he said, it was like a wave of energy that just pushed out, and it just hit them like a tidal wave. And this thing has basically said things and done things that would definitely say it is a negative. It's not good. It's definitely not good.
Well, thanks, Brian. I do have some questions from the viewers. Dova
Okay.
Karatech wants to know, I heard him say several times that EchoVox quote-unquote works. What solid evidence do you have that shows this is fact?
Basically, the information that we get. Again, EchoVox just uses random sounds and phonetics, and it's just all jumbled up. And then, obviously, the theory is spirit can manipulate that and form words. But we're getting very specific information out of this thing. I mean, I've had it say everybody's name in the crew, and quite clearly it comes out with specific information about the location we're in. And again, that cannot happen at random. The chances of that happening at random on every location, the mathematics just don't even add up. And again, as you've probably done yourself, Jenna, when you use EchoVox and you turn it on, you do get a lot of random gibberish come out. You know, it just spews random gibberish. But then when you start getting sentences out of this thing, what else could it be? Something is manipulating that sound. Something is manipulating those phonetics to form these words. So...
Yeah. I mean, the first time it ever says your name, you're kind of like, first and last. It blows your mind. Yeah, I agree.
It blows your mind. I mean, and we getting like whole sentences. Like one of the weirdest ones I ever got was using the 666 edition. And again, that's just very similar to EchoVox. It's just random sounds. And it came out with an entire sentence with my name in it and a specific warning, you know. So again, that coming out just random is you know, it's just it cannot happen. It literally just can't happen.
Just an odd question, actually, personally myself, is when you've used the EchoVox, and I'm talking 2.0, have you heard the word love come out of it?
Not that I can remember, not love.
Yeah, I've asked actually numerous investigators that have used it, and I actually do have a clip on my channel where it says believe in love, awkward may be love. And, you know, out of the 30 investigators I've asked, every single one of them says they've never heard the word love come out of it. And they can hear it clear as day on that video.
And that's the thing that, again, validates how good it is, because we know if all these words were just built in and they were sort of like there was something dodgy about it, we'd all be getting the same kind of evidence coming through. We'd all be getting the similar words, and we're not. We're all getting very specific evidence based on what we're doing at the time and the locations we're in and the people that are present on those locations. So to me, it just works. The evidence is there that it works.
I agree with you, Brian. Plus, too, I'm in Canada, and the dialect, I'm getting Canadian dialect here. I do both in Canada and the United States, and I know the difference in an American accent versus Newfoundland accent, and I'm hearing that through EchoVox. So, I mean, that's another reason.
Exactly. I was just about to say a similar thing, because we obviously in Gibraltar, we're very close to like Spain and Morocco and places like that. And we get a lot of, we've had every nationality, but we get a lot of Spanish, we get a lot of Moroccan, we've had French, we've had just so many different languages. And again, for the different languages to be programmed in there, because I've had people say that, well, isn't this just pre-programmed stuff that's in there? I would say, well, yeah, it's possible, but then the creator of the software would have to know every location that I've ever been in and ever will be in, and anybody that's present at any given time to put their names and their information in there, and the nationalities and the dialect, like what you've said, and already pre-programmed that in for everybody that's ever going to use the software, which, as we know, is impossible. It's just not possible.
Right, I agree. I have a question here from Cheryl Tilbury. She wants to know, how does your investigative methods differ from being on TV and not being on TV?
They're very similar. A lot of people say, like, when you're on TV, it's staged. Obviously, you have to roll for what the producer wants and what the cameras want, but we don't. So when we do private investigations, we basically do a similar thing when the cameras are on, because that's one thing we stipulated. when we do the TV show, we basically just get to the location. Our medium Sam is not told what the location is. She just turns up. We just set her free into the wild, and off she goes, and we follow her with a tech, and then the cameras have to follow us. That's it. They've got to keep up with us. So we just basically doing what we do. Anyway, so nothing staged, and we do exactly the same when we do anyone's home, when we do any investigation ourselves. It's all the same procedure.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ryan. The next question is from Joey the System. He says, I got an odd one. Do you believe in the spiritual realm trying to enter the physical realm on a permanent basis? And is that what is happening today with the conscious awakening?
Well, that is a good question. I don't believe that obviously the spirit world is trying to enter our world permanently. My theory on it is just a theory as well. It's just one of these things that I think of when I'm bored. When communication with spirits started, and we were talking a long time ago, and the first Ouija boards appeared, it was a very rare thing for people to communicate with spirit. There weren't many people doing it. So if you can imagine, the call out to the spirit world was very rare. So on the spirit world's kind of side, a doorway would be open, someone would communicate with a Ouija board or a seance or whatever, and it would be just like a pinprick in the darkness. But now we have such an interest, all these TV shows, all these apps you can get now, which people can just freely download. You can imagine everybody who's trying to communicate now on our physical plane, what it must look like on the spirit plane, that all these doorways are open and all these people are wanting to communicate. There's the intent. So obviously it's almost just like there's a mad rush. And I believe it's kind of as simple as that. I don't believe they're trying to get into our world and take over. It's just we opening so many doorways for them to enter our world. And that's one of the other problems. People are opening these doorways and they're not shutting them properly. They're not doing things properly. And that's where you often get problems, where people bring things through and they don't quite know how to deal with it. And then other people have got to come in and sort of fix the problem.
Okay, thanks a lot for your answer, Brian.
No problem.
Okay, I have a question here from Aaron, and please forgive me if I butcher your last name. His last name is Bilkey, I believe. Does the ovulus work?
The ovulus, yeah, well, that's again, it's very similar to how Echobox works, and obviously it was kind of the forerunner to that. But I have actually used the kind of ovulus device. But again, it's just the same principle. I do believe it works. Obviously, with the ovulus, it has inbuilt specific words. But I do believe that, again, it's through chance. I do believe the ovulus has a sound bank of a few hundred words. But I do believe spirit, yes, can manipulate those words and form sentences and bring out specific information. The only thing I don't believe is that you kind of like, you don't have the range, obviously, that something like Echobox has, where they can manipulate sound to a greater degree and come out with more information. But yeah, I do believe the ovulus does work.
Now, my question for you is what is your personal feeling on people who call themselves paranormal experts, and do you believe there is such a thing?
No. It's like what I said before, that no one actually knows everything. None of us know exactly what's going on, exactly what we're dealing with. It's just an ongoing journey. And anyone that posts online or confesses to be an expert, again, they're not. They can't be. The thing that to say you're an expert means you know all the answers, you know exactly what we do, and we don't. None of us profess to, because we can't know what we're doing, because we don't 100% know what we're actually dealing with. So I'm always very skeptical when people say they're an expert, or if someone actually says to me, "Oh, you've been doing this a long time, you must be an expert." No, I'm not. I'm still learning. Every day we'll turn Echobox on, or we'll go to an investigation, and we learn something new that just basically blows us away. So, no such thing as an expert in the paranormal field, I don't believe.
So do you believe that people can be true demonologists and have, like, the people that take the courses and have, like, certificates in that, do you believe that they can be true quote-unquote demonologists, or do you believe that it takes a lot more than the certificate?
It takes a lot more than a certificate. I mean, I don't say the certificates are wrong. I do believe, obviously, there's so much you can learn by reading out of books and doing certain things. But I don't believe someone who knows nothing can just go on a quick course, become a demonologist, and then profess to be an expert. Because how many years of experience have they had? How many investigations have they been on? So, to me, no, you've got to... You cannot just do this sort of thing overnight. You cannot just become an instant expert or get that certificate up on your wall because you've done a few courses and then say to people, I know what I'm doing. Because again, that's where a lot of the problems come in, because these people then obviously have people turn to them for help, and they do certain things, they don't do things right, and again, it just causes more problems than they try to fix.
I actually,
But,
I got an interesting
Okay.
question as well. Everybody has a dream location to investigate. Have you had a chance to investigate that dream location? And if you haven't, what is it?
Everyone has sort of that one location where they'd like to go, I suppose. But to me, every location is special. Every location is different. I mean, yes, on some of these TV shows where they go to all these fantastic locations and all these old abandoned asylums and hospitals and things like that. Yes, but like I said, some of the most active places I've been in are just walking into someone's home. It's as simple as that. So to me, every investigation is special. And I don't have any preference. So no, I can't say there's places I would like to go, but I wouldn't say they're any more special than any other location. I know people will probably disagree with me there, but that's just my personal take on it.
It keeps you level for every investigation. I mean, it keeps you at a good spot for every one you go on. It makes sense. Exactly, because a lot of these locations become famous because obviously they're seen on TV, but the spirits there don't care. You know what I mean? They're not thinking they're in a famous location or a special location. Like I say, I mean, I've literally walked into a local supermarket and had communication with spirit and caught some weird stuff. So you don't need to be in these fantastic... I mean, yeah, they would be brilliant to go and have a look at. And some of the places I've done in Gibraltar, they're places that normal public would love to go and some other investigators would love to be. But I didn't go there with the thing that these are special locations, if you get what I'm saying. It just I had the opportunity to do them, so I did them. But it's no different to me to walking down the street and walking into someone's home. All right, and I did see there was other questions as well. I didn't mean to chop in on you.
No, it's fine. The next question is a follow-up to Joey the Systems question. Okay, let me add to the question after the answer. We know Manly P. Hall and Aleister Crowley were speaking to the spirits way before the paranormal community arrived, which is why the previous question. So that's what he said. Cheryl Tilbury has a question. Since you use a medium on your show, do you believe that there is a place for folks with abilities in the paranormal?
Yes, I mean that's why we sort of do what we do on the show. I do believe there were, like in everything, in every aspect of life, there are genuine people and there are obviously fakes, and that's goes with the same with mediums. But what we did do on the show is, I do believe in Sam, and I do believe there are many other mediums. I'm not calling anyone a particular name or any fakes out there, but I do believe there's a place for a medium on an investigation, because like I said, what we do on the show, we use a medium and then we have the tech side, and the tech often validates what the medium's saying and the medium sometimes validates what the tech's saying, so it all just works together to me. And I kind of like to have both. I like to have both sides of the spectrum, and they do seem to work well together, or in our experience they do.
Now, you said you've gone on a lot of investigations, and people are so quick to call everything a demon.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on the whole demon thing and people calling everything a demon? Do you feel that people use that word too loosely? Way too loosely. Not everything you come across is demonic. I'm not saying there aren't dark things out there. There are obviously there are good spirits. There are just
lost souls, and there are some slightly darker souls, because we do believe that if you're bad in life, when you pass over, that nothing, if you're stuck here especially, nothing really changes. You can just be as nasty on the other side, and we have come across that. But again, you might get a kind of negative spirit that's not necessarily demonic, but when people come across these things, because they're a little bit more negative than the normal spirits they contact, they instantly say it's a demon and it's out to attack and things like that. So yeah, they throw that about way too much. But again, I do believe that when people do that, it's kind of just to be dramatic. It makes things a little bit more interesting, especially when you see them on some of the paranormal shows that are out there, the many paranormal shows, and they're getting attacked left, right, and centre. It just makes for good TV.
Do you feel that you've ever encountered a demon in all of the investigations that you've gone on?
I don't believe. I mean, in my personal life, yes, I have. But during the course of the shows, no. Even the one we call David, I don't believe it's something it's being dragged up from the pits of hell. I do believe it's negative. It's not a friendly thing, whatever it is, because again, we don't actually know what it is. But I don't believe it's not like Hollywood style. This thing's come up from hell to sort of haunt us or stalk us or anything like that. No. Like I say, but in my personal life, I have dealt with things that are really, what I would call really dark, yes. So I do believe they exist. These things do exist. They're out there, but they're not as common as what a lot of people seem to make out.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I always say it's like finding Bigfoot. Really, you have a bigger chance of finding Bigfoot than really coming across a true demonic.
Exactly. It does happen, but it's very rare.
Not to skip the next question I see that's in the chat, but if you believe that there is demons, do you believe there's also angels?
Yeah, I do, because I believe you've got a yin and a yang. Where there's light, there's dark. Where there's dark, there's light. So yeah, I do believe in whether I want to call them angels or demons that are demons. They're just names that we've sort of given to the more like thing. But there are lighter spirits, yeah, more sort of advanced spirits, I would call them, and there are a lot darker ones as well. So yeah, if we've got to give them a name, then yeah, I suppose I do believe in kind of angels and demons.
Okay, and then I see His Highness has a question. It says, since billions of people have died, do you have an opinion of why there isn't an overload of spirits waiting to respond to all the open doors?
Again, it is a good question, because obviously a lot of people die, and a lot of people die every day. But again, we don't know the definitive answer, because we don't know what's on the other side. We're only guessing what's on the other side and how it works over there. Because obviously, whatever happens when we die and we move on, which is the holy grail of what we're wanting to sort of get to, we don't know how it works. We don't know what's waiting on that other side for us. So it's almost an impossible question to ask. We don't know if these spirits, billions of them, are lined up wanting to communicate, or whether a lot of them do end up going to where they need to be, and it's only a select few who are stuck in a certain place that allows us to communicate with them, if you get what I'm saying. So, but again, it's a very, very hard question to answer, because we don't know. We honestly don't know.
And then another question I just saw popped in there was, what makes a spirit, in your opinion, go dark? Do you think they start out as light, or...
Good question.
It's a very tough question, for sure.
It's a tough question. It's a good question. Well, again, my personal belief is a couple of things could factor in. Obviously, you can get people who are dark in life, like I've said, who are bad people. And when they cross over, nothing changes. They are what they are. And they're very dark and very negative. But I suppose a good spirit that passes over, it's like in life. If a good spirit passes over, but they don't pass on, or what we believe is pass on to where they need to be, if they get stuck around these negative spirits, it's just like in life. It's sort of like they're going to get, corrupted in a way. And when you're talking, some of these spirits have been trapped for a long time, they lost souls, that might not help either. They just become sort of almost depressed, darker themselves in the thoughts, and they just lead down that path. But I believe if there's a lot of these darker entities floating around that don't want to pass over, they have no intention of passing over, and they see one of these good spirits, they're going to latch on and they're going to try and corrupt. So I'm not, again, that is just my theory.
Brian, there's a question in the chat room. They want to know, Joey the System wants to know, do you believe in reincarnation or not?
Yes. Simple question and a simple answer. I do believe that if a spirit passes over and they do go to where they need to be, and again, we don't quite know where that is, whether you want to call that heaven or wherever you want to call it, but I do believe that under certain circumstances a spirit can come back. And I do believe sometimes a spirit can go to where they need to be and they can come back, or I do believe if, say, someone's died in a sort of like horrific way or a traumatic way, that sometimes that spirit can literally just jump and literally be, again, as some cases have shown, literally reborn pretty much straight away, straight into another body, and they have those memories. So whichever way you want to look at it, I do believe it is possible, yes.
Just as we're waiting to see if there's any more questions popping up, is there anything you have upcoming that you would like to announce? I'd love for you to announce your channel and the show that you do. Let people know where they can find that and be able to see that.
Yes,
if you don't mind.
Yeah, definitely. No problem. Obviously, we've just finished filming the Ghost Trail Season 3, which is due to be aired, I believe, at the end of September. And if anyone is interested in that, because it's aired in Gibraltar and Spain and Europe, the only way you can watch it unless you're here is online. So if you can go to the GBC website, just Google GBC, and when it's aired, you can watch each episode live. And we haven't completed it yet, but we're starting to put all the old episodes under a dedicated YouTube channel. You can find, again, if you go onto YouTube and type in the Ghost Trail or GBC, you can find links to that. But I will supply a link later on because it's a work in progress thing at the moment. But definitely the Season 3 of the Ghost Trail, we've had some really interesting evidence this time, some really scary things. So I would definitely recommend giving it a watch.
Now, do you have that channel featured on your YouTube channel? So, in the upper right-hand thing, it is featured there, so anybody that goes there could jump right over to it.
I don't actually have a link on my personal YouTube channel, though, because the GBC, they just started creating that channel themselves, actually, as a YouTube channel. You can actually go to YouTube and just type GBC, and you can find other links to some of the episodes, but they're trying to put all those episodes into one specific place, into one specific YouTube channel, which is, like I said, if I actually have a look, they might actually have it active, and I might be able to put a link out to that.
Oh yeah, the YouTube channel, I definitely have. I've been on there, I've seen it.
Yeah, you've actually studied that. I think the producer said he'd actually getting a few. Season 1, I believe, he's managed to get uploaded, and beyond with Season 2 and Season 3. Once it's aired, will actually be put on there as well. But like I said,
there's also a few questions that did pop in as well.
Okay.
Was there any other announcements though, like any projects you got coming up other than the Ghost Trail? Is there other stuff as well?
We've got a few projects up and coming, and they still, again, early stages, work in progress of the things we do as soul seekers in Gibraltar. And we've got some interesting investigations to come. But again, you can find us on Facebook, Soul Seekers Gibraltar, and again, you can find us on YouTube as well. But they're things that's going to be up and coming within the next few months.
All right.
But unfortunately, that's all I can say about them at the minute.
Okay. Yeah, the next question I got is from Joseph Sweeney. How long would it take a spirit to come back? Is basically what his question is. He goes a year or a minute?
I assume he means as to come back.
Come back after they probably pass.
After they pass away.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of those hard to answer questions, because there have been sort of things happen that would suggest a spirit can take years, but then we've had sort of evidence that would suggest where someone's passed, they've been seen by a relative within minutes of them passing. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's definitely theoretical.
It's all theory. We have no definitive answer. Whether a spirit can take years, I suppose, depends on how they pass. But there is a lot of evidence out there that would suggest, like I've said, that when someone passes, they've been seen within minutes, within hours, within days of the passing. So it's one of those questions that we cannot give a definitive answer to, really.
And this is actually from one of the novice, kind of one of the new ghost hunters out there.
Okay.
That he's kind of looking for some insight. What would you say to someone who point blank refuses to believe and accept any sort of paranormal evidence shown to them, and looks for scientific explanation every single time?
Every single time.
I would call that a skeptic right off the bat.
That is a true skeptic. Yes, that's definitely. And again, there's no problem with that. Everyone has their own take. But what I say to a true skeptic, and I've dealt with a few, that say there is no such thing as a ghost. And my thing to that was, I'm saying, well, I'm telling you that we're communicating with something. I'm not telling you 100% that I can guarantee that we're talking to spirits from the afterlife. But you're telling me 100% that it's not real. How can you tell me 100% it's not real? Where is your evidence to suggest that it's not real? So that's all I can say. There's no problem with being a skeptic, but as a skeptic, you can't tell me definitively that there is no such thing as a ghost. Because a lot of skeptics, they've never actually seen a ghost. They've never, half the time, had anything paranormal happen to them at all. That's why they're a skeptic. But that doesn't mean that it's not real, just because they don't believe in it. Because a true skeptic, to me, a true skeptic is someone who doesn't believe, but they have to have that little part of them that is willing to believe.
No, I definitely agree with that. I have
exactly.
I have a very close friend that actually, I've known him for probably 6 years or so, and he's a skeptic, but he has told me 1,000 times, he goes, Dom, if you find something, he goes, I know for a fact at that point that it is something, because he knows that I'm not going to give him bullshit. He knows I'm not going to give him false evidence.
Exactly, and a skeptic who literally will not accept the truth, they never will. You'll never be able to convince them, even if you had 100% guaranteed proof right in front of them. Like what you said, a true skeptic, even if a ghost appeared right in front of them and there was no mistake, and they'd still just try and say, well, it was my eyes, I was tired, I was this. They'll give 1,000 excuses to why it wasn't actually a spirit, rather than just accepting that they've seen something paranormal.
Right, something unexplained for sure.
And something, exactly. So yeah, you will never convince those type of skeptics.
Jenna, did you have any more questions?
Yeah, I wanted to expand on that question. Do you find those kinds of skeptics really frustrating? Because you've had your own experiences, and you know that you have proof that there is something that we are talking to. Do you find when you meet or encounter those people that they're really super frustrating, or do you just take it as they
I don't take offense at it, and I sort of don't get annoyed over it anymore. I used to, but the thing is, what I believe is everyone has their opinion. The only time I find it offensive is when they get in your face and they just keep repeating the same thing, where it's like, but it's all rubbish, isn't it? It's just rubbish. You've got nothing, and if they push you with it, But I don't have any problem with it with a true skeptic saying there is no such thing, that it's all rubbish, and then just leave it at that. Because everyone has their own opinion at the end of the day. But I don't push to anybody that the paranormal is real, like what you've heard us here tonight. I haven't got all the answers. No one does. So we're not 100% sure that we are what we are dealing with. So, and I don't push the fact. I just put the evidence out there. I try and educate people, and then they can form their own opinion after that. So, but no, some skeptics, I love them. I love how they try to rationalize what they've just seen or what they've just experienced. It's quite amusing sometimes.
For sure, Brian. No, I hear you. Especially the people that, and I love the people who say that they have 100% spirit communication.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
100% validated communication. And again, there is no such thing. We can catch 100 EVPs and we can put them out there, but because we don't know exactly and definitively what we're dealing with, we can't say 100% sure what they are. So they cannot be 100% validated because we don't know what we're actually dealing with 100%.
Yeah, I mean, that's you can't say it any better than that. I mean, you really can't.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Well, that's
that's
everything I have, Tom. So thank you, Brian, for your time.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Appreciate you coming on for the interview. Again, if anybody would like to check out Brian's channel, I do have that in the description below, and I will get the Ghost Trails channel in the description below as well.
Excellent, thank you.
I am subscribed to it. I know I saw it a couple weeks ago. Subscribed to it, and it was really interesting stuff. Love the camera views and all the different angles and everything. So, but I don't see any more questions popping out of the chat.
Okay.
Everybody have a beautiful night. Thank you for joining us. And
thanks,
Brian. Thank you so much. So
I was just going to say thanks for having me. It's been an honor. Really enjoyed it.
All right, and Jenna, thank you for doing the show with us, doing the questions and so forth.
Anytime, the pleasure's all mine. Brian's a legend.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream right now.